This is video part 3. If you didn't remember, before February, I did a 2-part video where I read Song of Myself. It is 2.5 hours long, and it is a single poem. Some old guy went to go live in the woods for a year, and he came up with a really long, stupid poem. That's not what I can't be bombastic. I just can't. I just can't. Song of Myself is a poem by American poet Walt Whitman, published in the book Blades of Grass. This poem is so long that it's had several different names throughout the years and might just read like Twitter. Song of Myself is a poem about Walt Whitman, but also the self, but also a lot of things, because Walt Whitman did not stick to a single topic. He switches all the time. It might be not unlike trying to read through someone's Twitter threads. There's still a common theme in there of myself and my experiences and the people that I'm describing, but they are but parts, and everything is but a part. But it's not like cohesive. It's not what you think of as a poem. It's also not rhymey, overly lyrical, or all of that word, abstract. Like, it uses a couple old kind of words and might be the first instance of the word muggle, which I cannot find a definition before Harry Potter, but this poem was written in the 1800s, so I'm confused. Per muggle. Why is that there? Even though it's a bit old and uses some kind of old words, it is still a plain spoken kind of text. You can get in and read it and know generally what the guy is saying. Probably the only obstacle to this poem, which is just how large it is. It is both big and long, and both those words are necessary to describe it. Walt Whitman goes from talking about the leaves of grass appropriately, and then moves on to things like being a fisherman, being a fur trapper, and marrying a Native American girl, possibly without her consent, being black, being white, being in the Alamo, being in the Navy, being Mexican, being in the Army, being you, being Walt Whitman, listening to God, ignoring God's letters everywhere, signed clearly by God. Why are we just leaving them here? He's leaving them for you. The poem contains multitudes, summed up by the phrase, "Do I contradict myself?" Very well, I contradict myself. I contain multitudes. And so does his poem. His poem contains multitudes. Not to mention, it's, from a historical perspective, it's a world where there has not been a world war yet. He's pre-World War I. He mentions 2 battles. One is a Navy ship, and one is the Army at the Alamo. And he references the Alamo. No one references the Alamo in historical wars. I'm sure it's mentioned, but no one actively brings it up. Unless you live in Texas, which I did ask a Texan about the Alamo, and he seemed oddly proud of it. Similarly, Bright, Lindsay Ellis pointed out a weird thing with Bright, where the Mexican characters mentions that Mexicans still get for the Alamo. No, they don't. Point is, this is a fresh thing to his mind and to people. It's a war that was just 30 years ago. 30 years from now, or from before, we barely remember that. Because we are currently in 2 wars. Are we in wars? We are currently in mucky, war-like conditions. And it has some really great lines. I stamp a perpetual journey. I see ever so far, and there is limitless space outside of that. I count it, and there is limitless time outside of that. Though the shadow coaxes me to depart, I will go, and I will be part of the grass and part of the dirt. If you want to look for me, look under your boot. And if you want, you can just pick up in the middle of it. Just like read in Twitter. President sucks. All these talkers are just talking. One day I will be but dirt and the grass, and you could find me under your boot. Some sport metaphor. I think what Song of Myself is trying to express is a journey. Like most thing in Song of Myself, the poem tells you, you don't have to do a lot of abstract guessing. It will tell you what it is. I am not tamed. I am not translatable. Who will finish their supper and come walk with me? He tells the reader that they are already on a path, on a journey. They might not have noticed that they were born there, that they were walking, but it is a journey. And he says, come after me. Come find me. If I'm not in one place, look for another. I'll wait for you. Missing me in one place, search another. I wait for you somewhere. It's a pretty great poem about all-around acceptance and non-judgment and contradictions and just accepting all of it and thinking that it's okay. Listening to all sides of all of the talkers and sorting them out for yourself. It's a poem that really wants you to do the heavy lifting, but also is alright if you don't. And it's just kind of nice. Though it does shirk the I lead men and women to a journey null. My left hand around your waist, my right hand pointing to some mountain or continent. I cannot travel this journey for you. It's a fantastically encouraging poem.